In the control room of a nuclear power plant, the most important number on the screen is not the megawatts being generated. It's the frequency of the alternating current. In North America, that number must be 60,000 hertz, not 59.9, not 60.1, 60. Every generator connected to the Eastern Interconnection, from Manitoba to Florida, is locked in a silent, desperate dance to keep that number perfectly still. The entire machine, thousands of power plants, millions of miles of wire, hundreds of millions of homes functions as one single engine. And that engine must spin at exactly 3,600 revolutions per minute, every second of every day, or the machine begins to tear itself apart. We built a civilization that requires this perfect harmony, yet we almost never hear the music. This is the energy historian, uncovering the hidden systems that power civilization. Your electricity bill arrives, a predictable monthly abstraction. You might glance at the kilowatt hours, the rate, the total. It feels like a transaction, a bill for a commodity like water or gas. But that piece of paper is not a receipt. It's a report card. It's the final, averaged echo of a month-long, continent-wide performance of balletic precision and raw physical force, a performance with no intermission and no understudies. The price you pay is the financial translation of how hard that performance was to pull off, minute by minute, in a system with zero tolerance for error and zero capacity for storage. The grid doesn't have a warehouse. It makes and delivers its product at the exact same instant, every single time. Think about the sheer scale of the coordination. At any given moment, the amount of electricity being pushed into the wires must exactly match the amount being pulled out by every light bulb, server farm, and refrigerator compressor. If generation lags behind demand by even a fraction of a percent, the frequency drops. If generation surges ahead, the frequency rises. This isn't a gentle suggestion. It's a law of physics. The system is held in balance by a layer of technology and human operation so specialized that most of us have never heard its name: ancillary services. These are the markets and machines hired not to make electricity, but to make electricity reliable. They are the shock absorbers and gyroscopes of the grid. The first and most critical of these services is frequency regulation. When you turn on your air conditioner, it creates a tiny, almost imperceptible drop in system frequency. Something, somewhere, needs to respond within seconds, even milliseconds, to push back. That job falls to a fleet of power plants specifically tuned to ride this razor's edge. Historically, this was done by coal or gas plants running below their maximum, ready to ramp up or down at a moment's notice. Their fuel burned, their turbines spun, but they weren't selling bulk power. They were selling stability itself. They were being paid to be ready, to have spinning mass inertia that could instantly counter any disturbance. That readiness, that spinning reserve, is a colossal hidden cost baked into your bill. Here's where the first fragility appears. The entire economic model of the modern grid was built around that thermal fleet, big, heavy, rotating steel, providing inertia as a free byproduct of making power. But the grid is changing. Wind turbines and solar panels produce power, but they are connected through electronics, not directly through spinning mass. A solar farm has no inertia. A wind turbine's inertia is decoupled from the grid by its power electronics. As we add more of these inverter-based resources, we are quietly removing the system's natural shock absorbers. We are replacing heavy spinning steel with lightweight semiconductors. The machine is getting faster, smarter, and infinitely more brittle. This creates a dangerous paradox. We are making the grid cleaner, but also more fragile, and the market structures designed to pay for stability are struggling to keep up. The price for a megawatt hour of energy might be $40. The price for a megawatt of regulation service, the right to tell a battery or a gas plant to charge or discharge, for just 1 hour can spike to over $1,000 during tense moments. Your bill averages out these wild hidden auctions that happen every 5 minutes, every day. You're not paying for electrons, you're paying for certainty. Now, layer on the second monumental challenge, Transmission. Electricity obeys the path of least resistance, not the path of economic logic. A solar farm in the desert might be producing cheap power, but if there's no wire with enough capacity to carry it to the city that needs it, that power is useless. The grid is not a highway system. It's more like a network of interconnected canals, where water flows wherever the pressure takes it. Managing this flow is called congestion, and congestion costs are staggering. In 2022, the US spent over $20 billion just on congestion, paying some power plants more to turn on and others to turn off, simply because the wires in between were full. That's $20 billion for absolutely nothing new. No new power plants, no new lines. Just money spent to work around the limitations of the existing infrastructure. This is the silent crisis of the grid. It is becoming a victim of its own success in generating cheap, renewable power in the wrong places. Texas, during a sunny, windy day, will sometimes produce so much wind and solar power that wholesale electricity prices go negative. They will pay you to take their power. Yet, just a few states away, prices might be high because they're burning expensive gas. You can't ship it. The wires are the bottleneck. We have entered an era where the most valuable asset in the electricity system is no longer a power plant. It's a permit to build a transmission line. Which brings us to the core, counterintuitive answer to why your bill depends on systems that can fail overnight. The stability of the grid, and therefore the price you pay, does not primarily depend on how much power we can make. It depends on a vanishingly small margin of excess capacity, measured in seconds and megawatts, that exists solely to recover from the next unexpected failure. The grid is not a bulk commodity system. It is a real-time emergency response system, masquerading as a utility. Your bill is the subscription fee for a 24/7 disaster prevention service you never see.
The proof is in the blackouts. Not the slow, rolling blackouts of shortage, but the fast, catastrophic collapses. On August 14, 2003, a high-voltage power line in Ohio brushed against some overgrown trees and shut down. The system was stressed, operating near its limits on a hot afternoon. That single failure rerouted power onto other lines, which then overloaded and shut down. Within 90 minutes, a cascade of failures swept across the northeastern US and Canada, cutting power to 50 million people. The triggering event was minor. The system's inability to absorb that shock was structural. It lacked sufficient reactive power, another invisible ancillary service that keeps voltage stable in the right places. The system didn't run out of energy. It lost its balance and fell over.
One tree branch revealed that the entire architecture was operating without a safety margin. Every major grid upgrade since, every dollar on your bill for grid modernization, is essentially an attempt to widen that margin, to add more sensors, faster controls, and better shock absorbers. But the margin is under constant pressure from two sides. From the demand side, as we add electric vehicles and data centers that are far hungrier and less flexible than old appliances, and from the supply side, as we replace predictable, controllable coal plants with weather-dependent renewables and nimble but inertialess batteries. The transition, then, is a high-wire act. We are swapping out the engine of an airplane while it's still in flight. The new engines are more efficient and cleaner, but they respond to the controls differently. The pilots, the grid operators, are learning new reflexes in real time, with the lives of every passenger depending on them. A single cloud over a large solar field, or a sudden lull in the wind, is no longer just a loss of power. It's a loss of the inertia and voltage support that the old plants provided for free. That loss must be replaced instantly by batteries or specially configured gas plants, at whatever price the market demands in that moment. Your monthly bill is the averaged-out story of these near misses. It's the cost of the extra gas plant that had to sit idle, burning fuel just to be ready for the moment the wind dropped. It's the premium paid to a battery farm in Texas to inject power for 9 minutes to stop a frequency collapse. It's the multi-billion-dollar investment in new high-voltage lines amortized over decades of your payments. The system's fragility is not a bug. It's a fundamental physical characteristic of alternating current electricity at continental scale. and we have chosen to build our entire society upon it. The Vijas, we now rely on digital markets to manage a physical system with the grace period of a falling knife. The real question is not whether the system can fail. It is how we've managed to make it work this well for this long, and what we're willing to pay to keep the illusion of effortless abundance alive. The grid is the largest and most complex machine ever built, and it is in a state of permanent, barely averted crisis. Every month, you get a quiet, itemized summary of how much that crisis cost. Most people assume a blackout happens when we run out of power. Drop your answer below. I'll break down why they have it backwards in the next episode. If this changed how you see the system, subscribe. The hidden infrastructure is always there. Now you know where to look.